It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I know you hear this energy. One, it's because I had coffee. No, I'm joking. No, but I just have this natural, I have this natural energy. It is my birthday. I decided to have a podcast marathon. People have been hitting me up left and right, literally from all parts of the world, to be a guest on the podcast. And I said, you know what? How about I try to get many in one day? And the perfect day to do that was on my birthday. So if you're tuning in, listening from wherever you are, I want to say thank you so much for spending my birthday with me. And I also want to thank a very special woman who is with me to just discuss all of the amazing things that she's doing in the world with women, for families, children, listen, so forth and so on. So Mary, I want to give you this opportunity to introduce yourself. Where are you from? Where do you call home? Just share with the world, and then we're gonna jump right in. I'm excited. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sheba. I'm Mary Beth Vieira. I live in Bixby, Oklahoma. I grew up on a farm in rural Missouri, so still Midwest.
Yes.
I'm a holistic practitioner. I do holistic health and life coaching and energy work in my practice. Currently, I work mostly one-on-one with people, but I just became an author with Sheba, and she is an overcomer. And I also do like to speak as well. I'm mostly just sharing from kind of my stories of my life and where I've come from and how I've overcome and kind of changed my life trajectory. So that's kind of basically it.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, so we have to plug in that we have recently become #1 international best-selling. So everyone, they laugh because I'm just a comedian. I self-proclaimed, and I'm sitting here drinking my tea, minding my #1 international, best-selling author business. So I want to.
As one does.
That's right. So I wanted to congratulate you on that work. Just actually speaking to Linda Sunshine, which is the publisher of the book, she was sharing, the power of your story, which other people might say testimony, your life. And it was just an amazing moment. And so I know that you mentioned you do life coaching, holistic health. There's a lot of people who are looking for alternatives, so to speak. I don't really like that word, but just alternative in comparison to mainstream things that are like, in your face. And so I love that you are doing that work. So share with us, who is your ideal client? Who is your ideal client?
Oh my goodness. So I personally love to work with, and probably I do work with more women than men. Mostly whenever men come to work with me, it's not typically about health issues. Usually interestingly enough, but I think women care more about our health, honestly. I think we think more about it. We live longer.
Hello. No.
But we do, probably because we care about our health. Our bodies go through a lot, especially because we go through so many changes physiologically in our lifetime that men don't necessarily go through, thanks to our hormones and thanks to childbearing, all that wonderful stuff. So women, most of the time, I would have to say probably my ideal client is female. And she is someone who might have some health struggles she's dealing with that she doesn't just want to medicate.
Right.
And she might also have had a history of maybe some early childhood trauma, or having like a dysfunctional family of origin. And I work so well with individuals like this because I'm able to connect the dots
I was just about to say.
with someone that has some early, maybe some emotional trauma, maybe physical trauma, because that impacts our lifelong health. And most of the time with women, we carry that trauma in our physical body, in our physical self. We carry that with us. And then it kind of shows up later on in our life, like in our 30s, our 40s, like after our second or third or fifth child, when our body has kind of been stressed and worn down over time. And then these early childhood things start popping up and start really kind of manifesting in our body, because we know, Sheba, that negative stuff takes a long time to manifest. Positive stuff can manifest right away, pronto. Yes. Positive energy can manifest things right away. Negative energy tends to take a long, long time to manifest. In the Bible, it talks about the curses follow you, the blessings go ahead of you, right? So our positive manifestation, it tends to be super quick. This is why I work really well with individuals that have those two things. Physical health things they're trying to overcome, as well as some early trauma or traumatic events that have happened in their life, because those go together. And I approach them together with a mind, body, spirit approach. And we don't just heal one without healing the other. We can't just heal our physical body and not heal our trauma, and vice versa. We can't just do a bunch of therapy to try to heal our body, our mind and our emotions, and completely ignore our physical self, because they go together, and we are one, and we heal as one. So that is
that. I say that one more time.
That's my ideal client.
I love we are one, and I love that. I love that. I love that. You mentioned a lot about early childhood education. And I know that, my Sheba presence will focus a lot on women, right? But my profession actually is early childhood education. That is my field. That is my work. I mean, my absolute joy. I think it's my calling. It's beyond just money. And I see a lot of this in the classrooms, and what we've learned, right, is that early childhood education is the building blocks for their future. So, when you see these traumas, and I think this is one of the reasons why children are misdiagnosed, and we're not kind of going, or sometimes they're not diagnosed, they're overdiagnosed, and some of this is my own English that I'm making up, but I love it. Right. Always, but and that's why I just love the field so much. And like I said, just reading up on your information, checking out the things from your website, so forth and so on, I see this early childhood and this focus on that stage of development, because as I mentioned before, it affects your future life, your adult life, and
lifelong.
Right. If you're not aware, like you mentioned, not in these exact words, but it would manifest, right? It'll show up in your physical body, in your mind, in your spirit, in your finances. It'll show up in many different places. So it's so important to address it. Well, first become aware of it, one, and then address it, and as you mentioned, one alternative is through the holistic approach. Now, share with me, what is a cause that's near and dear? What is your ministry? What is your work? What is, you wake up and it's like there, you go to sleep and it's there, and what is that? What would you say that is?
Well, I believe it is teaching and sharing that we don't have to be defined by that early childhood experience. That even if we don't address it, it will define our whole life.
Right.
If we do address it, we have the power to change our life. So can I share one little story?
Of course. We got time. Go ahead. This is my birthday. Go ahead. This is what I want.
So 9 years ago, I was in training to become a foster parent. So it's going through what you have to go through to get certified to be a foster parent.
Mm-hmm.
I had, either in the past or current diagnosis of about 5 different immune disorders in my physical body.
Okay.
And in my foster parent training, one of the things we learned was this study that was done in the 1980s by Kaiser Permanente about how if you have 4 or more adverse childhood experience, this is our ACEs score, which as an early childhood educator, you know about ACEs. Our chances of getting immune, specifically autoimmune disorders, increased exponentially. I'd never heard that before in my life. I'm in my 30s. I'm, have already, had given birth to 3 kids, becoming a foster parent. Mm-hmm. And it inside my head, it clicked because I had more than 4 of those. I had more than 4 of the ACEs. And I thought, I have been to doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor. I've done all kinds. I've been to alternative doctors. I've been to mainstream doctors. I've been to specialists and specialists. Right. Nobody told me trauma impacts your immune system. Trauma impacts your hormones.
Wow.
What you go through in early childhood can completely affect how your immune system functions as an adult. Wow. Completely. Nobody had told me that. And it was like a light bulb went off. I'm in, and it's because I'm training to be a foster parent that I learned this information nobody had ever told me before. And so it was a huge, at the time, and my husband and I, we just kind of looked at each other and they were like, this makes so much sense. We don't even know how to process this. Right
yeah. It was like that aha moment. Like, what? Yep.
And at the time, I didn't know this is going to change your life. But I do now. I look back at that moment so many times because I realized like that one piece of information and how many individuals out there are dealing with, autoimmune, like it's huge in women. I can't give you a statistic, but I guarantee you, women right now that have some type of autoimmune disorder.
Yes.
I guarantee you do.
Yep.
How many of them can look back and recognize, oh yeah, like I do have an ACEs score of 4 or more. I did have childhood trauma. And when we can connect that dots, the second question is, what do I do about it?
Right.
That's what I do. That's exactly what I do. I help people do something about that.
Take action, right? Take action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading, one of your responses, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if this is from a place of ignorance, like kid you not, because I know that you're in Oklahoma. I'm in New York, right? And there is this perception that when you become a foster parent, it's like you have everything, like they provide you with everything, and
Oh, God.
That's why I'm reading this like, wait, what? So you have to bring awareness because, the question is, well, okay, how do you support this, right? And when I'm seeing Christmas presents, I'm thinking, doesn't the city or the state or, provide these things? And so for those who are listening, listen to me very, 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 because I want this to be a teachable moment, to share your experience, your advice, even debunking some of these things that we think we know or we've heard, for myself. I mean, I read it like,
oh girl,
yeah,
oh girl,
so share,
oh girl.
And how do you encourage others to take action, as it relates to the foster care system?
Okay. So here's just an example.
Mm-hmm.
My first foster child was a medically fragile baby. Medically fragile, needed intense medical care. Had to have special formula, had to be tube fed, couldn't be fed through the mouth, etc.
Right.
Now here's an example of what the state doesn't do. The state, like I literally, you're supposed to go through WIC to get their formula.
Right.
I went through hurdle after hurdle with Wick trying to get them to get his special formula, which I would get some of the time, like literally some of the time. And this is food for this child,
Right.
like
Right.
for this baby, food. So the state, and absolutely not, no, they don't provide anything. In the city where I live, there are organizations to support foster families that I don't know how anybody could foster without it. I mean, you get a baby, they don't have clothes, they don't have anything. You're lucky to get food. I hardly had any training in even how to medically care for him. I had to do a ton of research on my own and talking to doctors. It was so much, even just taking him to all these appointments. And I also had other kids, and then the hospital stays. Having some, I needed support so bad. And like, I didn't want to leave him at the hospital alone. And that was just sort of expected of me, that I was just going to leave this baby at the hospital and go and pick up my kids from school. And I would, like, as a mother,
Mm-hmm.
I had a real issue with that I was expected to treat my foster baby any differently than I would my own child.
Uh-oh.
Does that make sense?
That makes,
Like, if my own child was in the hospital, I would not leave their side. You know what I mean? Like, I would not leave their side, but I was sort of expected to just kind of like, well, if they're in the hospital, then you just leave and they take care of them, whatever. And yeah, I was not cool with that. It was very hard to, it meant the world to me. The first Christmas that I was a foster parent, I was in the hospital on Christmas Day, with my foster baby, and the kids end up coming with my husband. And I had three, elementary and younger age kids at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they all came to the hospital, and we had Christmas together with our little baby.
Yeah.
And the gifts that we got, because I had been in the hospital with him already 10 days at that point. So it wasn't like I could do Christmas preparation beforehand.
Right.
I had nothing, I wasn't able to really go shopping for the other kids or do anything. And we had this foster organization in our city. James Mission is the name of this organization. Is phenomenal. They've done so much work in supporting foster families. And they like brought stuff to us in the hospital, and they brought a gift basket with, cards for meals. Cause that's another thing. Like if you're taking care of a baby in the hospital, it's you, and you have other kids to feed too. It's very hard. So they brought that, and gifts, and there were gifts for the kids, and not just our foster baby, but for our other kids as well. And that meant the world. It just meant the world, It felt like a whole new meaning of Christmas to me.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it felt like God saw me where I was, because I had done what I'd done and made that choice to take care of this child, and to take care of him like he was the king, not like he was a foster child, but to take care of him like that was Jesus. And so supporting foster families. No, the government does not do everything. No, they do not supply you with clothes or even formula half the time. Should they? I mean, I feel like at the very least, like his medical food, like should have been paid for by the state, but that was very difficult to make happen. I feel like it is, my first purpose is helping people heal. My, secondary purpose, or actually my first purpose is my family, and being a mother and loving my family. But being, even now that I'm not fostering right now, I still have a priority to give to foster families to support, even if it's just provide the services that I do for foster parents, as a donation. I committed to that whenever I started my business, Akarah Life. Part of my commitment was that I would always do that. So I do that because foster parents need emotional support too. Foster parents get triggered when they have trauma kids in their home. You know, foster parents need mental health care too.
They need it all. They're parent. I mean, I know we put the word foster in front of it, but
yes, you're right.
They're just take a foster. They're a parent, you know. So, and the child is not is a child, you know.
You're right. You're right.
Those same emotions, responsibilities, the same weight in some cases. It doesn't bypass, you know, it doesn't, you know, it's wow, it's so amazing. And I'm glad that you've committed your life, you know, your work into supporting, because like I'm telling you, in my ignorance, I'm thinking she must have made a mistake to say that, you know, because, you know, to think, no, seriously, I'm thinking the government, like, you know, and people think the more foster children, the more you're set, you know. So I'm so grateful that you have you know, shared light on that from a personal experience. And so, you know, how do you do what you do? How do you do what you do? What is your secret?
I get up in the morning.
Right.
Somehow things happen after coffee, you know.
Exactly. You know, no, it's true. I get it because, you know, I have twins. I have 3 children, but my youngest of the twins, they're like, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, you just do it. Sometimes you can't figure out the how. You just do it and you show up and you do it to the best of your ability and you make it happen. And so I love that. So the last few things that I want to ask you, one is, again, tell us your business, tell us how we can connect with you, you know, share your social media, even share if there's some upcoming things that you have, you know, happening, and how can we plug into what you're doing? You're such an amazing person. I just love everything, especially the community of those who are caring for our children, you know. Yes. So I love that. Mm-hmm.
I love that so much. I mean, I think that it's very hard for, you know, I had a traumatic childhood, and probably my passion for foster care came from that. I was not a foster child. I just had a dysfunctional and abusive home. Mm-hmm. And the feeling as a child of not being in control.
Wow.
I think was so very hard for me, and figuring out how to navigate life that was not my choice was so hard. So becoming a foster parent to me was like saying no kid should have to go through what I went through. Mm-hmm. And I want to be a person that can help make the world a better place for children, period.
Wow. Love it.
You know, wherever they are, whoever they come from, I want the world to be a better place for them. And, you know, early childhood development, you know, like so much happens during those early years about how that little person perceives the world, how they perceive themselves in the world. And even when I work now and I do some work for kids, but what I do for children is very, very different than what I do for grown-ups.
Okay, big people. I'm joking.
Totally different approach. But I can't ever really work with a child and not with their parent, because they're
that's how they learn. They learn through the context of their family. You know, like you can't.
Absolutely. And you know, the energy side of it is, you know, as a parent, we can work very, very hard to not pass our issues on to our kids. Me worked so hard to not pass my issue on to my kids, worked so hard to break the cycle. But when we are under stress, we will repeat a cycle unless we have done work on it. And our kids pick up things we don't even know we're saying and doing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, an example would be energy. Energy is communicating all the time. Energy is passing in between individuals with you and your children. It's happening all the time. And we might say, well, I have never said this negative thing that goes through my mind to my kid. Like, I have never said, but if we are feeling inadequate about ourselves, our children will share that energy. Our
Yes.
children will feel inadequate about themselves. And you may have never said to your child, you're not good enough. But if you have said in your mind, I am not good enough, over and over and over, your child will share that energy. And the energy that the child picks up is not the child doesn't pick up, my mom doesn't think she's good enough. The child picks up, I'm not good enough.
Right.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So I know you told me to talk about, but
don't feel no pressure. We're just flowing here.
A huge part of me wanting to help people is because, and every person I love, probably my favorite people in the world to work with are my clients in their 20s that have not had children yet. Because I'm like, yes, you're doing the work now. You're working on healing this stuff so that as you grow and take on your life and have a family, like, you're actually working on this before the kids come out.
Yes.
And you're seeing your issues right there in front of you. You're recognizing that, oh my God, I don't know how to be a parent because nobody parented me.
Right.
You know.
You know what? We're about to go to church. Whoa. You are about to go into a deep place as far as that. Woo! I have to take a deep breath. Oh my goodness. Wow. That is absolutely positively true. I feel like you have to come back. Because there's so much
so
more.
Honored.
Yeah, there's so much more that we have to dive into. And so as we, let's put a comma here, right?
Okay.
And we'll have to have you back in order for us to really go into some other, especially, I mean, like I said, early child education, that's my life. We can talk for the next 5 hours, I'm telling you, so if a client said, you know what, I want this energy, I need this energy, the synergy to help me, as you mentioned, to change the trajectory of my life, how could they connect with you?
Well, I have a website. It's bare bones, but you can contact me there. It's www.akarahlife.com. That's AKARAHLIFE.com. That's really the best way because you can click on there and send me an email from there and connect. I also have a page on heal.me, and that's just heal.me/Mary Beth, one word. And heal.me will actually send a request for an appointment. And I also have a button on there for free discovery calls. So that means if you're like, maybe I want to work with her, I'm not sure if it's the right fit, you can schedule a discovery call with me. That's like 15 to 20 minutes where we just talk, and you talk about what's going on with you. I talk to you about what I can do to work with you and make a decision if that's a good choice for you. So those are 2 awesome ways to contact me. I do have social media, Facebook, Akarah Life page, and then my Instagram is just Mary Beth Vieira. I have started doing more on social media just to kind of be there, if that makes sense, just because I feel people get to know you, and anyone that's going to work with someone on the kind of work that I do feels really vulnerable, and it's scary to them to reach out to work with someone. So the more that on my social media, I mostly just try to post things that will help people get to know me, so that they can feel more comfortable knowing where I'm coming from, and that can help them make a good choice on if they want to work with me or not.
That's so, I like that. They post so people can get, I like that. That's actually a good tip. So listen, listeners, thank you so much I'm hoping just for sharing this moment. As you can see and feel that there's a comma here, and we're going to continue this conversation. And, if you are forced to parent, or if you're considering, I'm pretty sure Mary Beth would love to, connect with you, support you with that process. And there's so much to unpack and discover and learn and grow. So don't feel like you are alone. There's a community that we're trying to create and establish and cultivate, even through this podcast platform. And so definitely connect again with her. And thank you for sharing my birthday with me. So until the next episode, I will see you all. Well, you'll hear me more so another time. Peace.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.